We're doing a demonstration today showing the RAM optical instrumentation's measurement of the thread forms on the neck of a bottle. This machine is an 8x6 by 6-inch travel system. It's the only system we have available for demonstration right now at the end of the year. A couple of things that we won't be able to do at this point is measure the overall length, certainly. The bottle is just sitting on modeling clay. In actual operation, it would need to be set on bell nose centers on the back and front to hold it in position. We're measuring with the split line straight up at this point, and I'll start the inspection while I talk here. We're going to go down and measure the form on both sides. We'll measure the edges, measure the radiuses, the angles. Certainly a lot more than the dimensions that are required here. The overall length, certainly, we can't report. And in this view, the L dimension, which is the idea of the bottle, can't be seen either. Now that can be handled in a couple of different ways. We can use a right angle mirror looking at the front, or as we see in the second part of the demonstration, when I measure the thread to show roundness, we'll show how we'll measure that also. At this point, we basically completed the measurement of the threads. The dimensions are shown on the left side of the screen here. This is your program listing. All of the dimensions that we physically measured are on the screen. Everything does show itself in tolerance except for dimension B. I'm sorry, dimension small g is the only thing that was out of tolerance on the bottle. Everything else is in tolerance. For the second part of the demonstration, we're just going to measure the neck of the bottle using the touch probe. And again, to get roundness on these, there's no way to do it without having the bottle sitting up and measuring with the probe. With the video, certainly, and just rotating even on centers, we'd have to rely on the inside throat of the bottle being true enough that we were riding on a true center. So we'll conclude this portion right now. I'll set up for the second portion and we'll start again. Okay, what we've done, I removed the bottle in the horizontal position and I cut the neck off one of the other bottles. This machine only has 6 inches of travel in the z-axis, and the length of the bottle was 9.15. So certainly we could measure it standing up. Now we do have machines with a 12-inch z-axis where we could accommodate the bottle as it sits. But what we're doing now is we're going to measure the ID of the bottle using the video, and then we'll use the touch probe to measure the 3 diameters that require the 6-point measurements for roundness. We're using the Renishaw probes and probe changer, so the probe was on the machine that parked it. We're measuring the inside diameter, and now we'll go pick up the probe and measure the other 3 diameters with the probe. Again, as we're moving around the thread is certainly at an angle on the first measurement here. We're actually teaching it or telling the machine where to measure. So it would require the bottle being set up near the same orientation on the machine so that we'd have the split line facing forward. Certainly if it was off 5 or 10 degrees it wouldn't make any difference, but we couldn't have it off 30 or 40. Again, we can take as many points as we want with the probe using this method. I'm taking 6 or more points on each one of the circles at this time to get the dimensions. And to do what you need to do with this application, I would guess that you would need a 18 by 18 inch machine. That's the smallest one we make with a 12-inch Z. And it would certainly let you measure multiple bottles at the same time in the horizontal position, as well as bottles in the vertical position, using the touch probe to measure the thread measurements that require the run-out. Again, there's no real way that we can do the run-out measurements with the video. And that concludes the measurement on the part. We'll send with this CD 2 additional files with the measurements on them. And certainly most of the measurements were inspect around this. I put a 5 thousandths tolerance on it. There was nothing on the print that showed what roundness should be, and I think they're showing out of tolerance a little bit here. But other than that, the part certainly is measurable on the machine without a big issue. Again, I would recommend the CNC 400. It's an 18 by 18 with a 12-inch Z-axis for the part measurement. If you have any questions, you can contact me. My name is Chuck Rasbach at 585-330-9758. Again, this is a RAM Optical CNC 200, an 8x6 machine that we're doing the demonstration on today. The software itself is relatively straightforward, relatively easy to use. Training is normally a day and a half after the installation, and that's enough to get the people using it. They won't be experts at that point, but certainly with an additional day of training after a week or two of use on their part, certainly they should have no problem in duplicating any of the measurements that are necessary on the bottles. Thank you again.